Okay, it started.
All right, we're here for the episode podcast for Cupid no Itazura, episode 4. And this is Admin R
Admin M.
and we're gonna get started. Okay. So episode 4, Cupid no Itazura. I keep saying that for so wrong. Um and okay, I've watched the whole drama at this point, even though this is only a podcast for episode 4. And I really enjoyed it. Very interesting. Nice pick, M. This is M's pick this week.
It was actually Beth's or B's pick.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, B picked it.
Just talked to me about it before. That's it. Yeah. So, but anyway, it's a really good one. Episode 4, we're seeing. Let's see what happened in this one. This is like the aftermath of, if you've been paying attention to our podcast or our posts up to now, you know what's been basically happening in the drama. He already has the disease, and he's gone through, like, I don't know, like, I would say 3 different beads, hasn't he? He's gone through a handful.
I think at this point he's only got like 3 balls left.
Yeah,
4 balls.
something like that. We're only like 4 episodes in. He's been working his way through his chances for orgasm, like, already. But, like,
And none of it is a person, except for that one where the scientist basically sexually assaulted him to get a bead or a ball, however you want to.
that made me so uncomfortable. Oh my god.
That made me and Y feel uncomfortable too. We talked about it in the podcast.
Okay. When we get to episode 7, we're gonna talk more about this show's sex scenes. But for right now, I'm just gonna say I've been slightly uncomfortable with all of them. But that's it. And not because I'm like some kind of prude or anything like that, whatever you want to call it. Simply because some of them were just like very sketch. But anyway,
Agreed.
in this one, this is the aftermath of our main characters. One's name is Asami, the girl with the short hair, who's having the affair with the married guy, and the other guy, his name is
Moonchan.
yeah, Muchan. I'm just gonna call him that. It's funny, but no, it's weird. Lutski. But anyway, so this is the aftermath of them almost having sex. And so, like, they had like a whole, I don't even know what that was. It was like a,
Really dry humping.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that too. But I mean, the reasoning behind it was very,
Not
just
okay.
again, like I said, the sex scenes in this are kind of bleak and unsatisfying in the sense that, the emotions that are the drive for the sex is are quite negative.
Agreed.
So when they're having sex, it's not like, oh, this is super sexy. It's like, oh man, I'm uncomfortable because you're not doing this for the right reason. And so, like, even though I think they have a lot of chemistry and they look great together, and I want them to end up together, that sex scene, the last episode, was incredibly uncomfortable because she was basically doing it in order to feel better about her shitty boyfriend who's married, and how
Just got done having sex with.
yeah, and she had just finished having sex with him earlier that night, and he left like he always does because he's married, and he like, clearly it's like a situation where it's not necessarily clearly just about sex, but that's how she feels. and she knows it because that's all they do. They meet up and they have sex. That's it. And so she's feeling empty. And so she decides, I don't know, to try and like feel better or try and, salve herself by having sex with him, with Muchan. And he's just, he's all in his emotions about this disease that he now has, where he can only have sex a certain amount of times. He's using them up like crazy. He's in love with the chick, his coworker, who is 19, by the way. Okay, but and they're having problems in their relationship, which hasn't even started yet. Like, so he's feeling some kind of way, and he's vulnerable, and he's a virgin, and he's never had sex before. And like, so he goes along with it.
Just got done making him feel like crap because he misunderstood her. Like, that whole scene in the car just made me so uncomfortable because it was like, she gave the impression of being really into it and like letting him on top of her and all that other kind of stuff, and then she decided that she was going to cry like he was hurting her and basically accused him of raping her whenever.
Yeah, and then he stopped, and then it was like, okay, this is something, was it in this episode? Yeah, this is where she explains that. And so he avoids calling her, contacting her all last episode because of, he felt like she was afraid of him, that he had frightened her, and that, like he considered what he was doing as rape, or she considered what he was doing as rape. So he stops contacting her, he's avoiding her, he's feeling like shit. And so they finally meet up in the beginning of this episode, and she goes on this explanation that made me go, what? Because she's not mad about the whole frightening her in the car and the rape thing. Like, she's mad that he stopped.
Made no sense to me.
She's mad that he decided to take her physical cue of being frightened and uncomfortable, and she's mad that he decided to take that cue as a cue to stop. So like that she was, and so she explains it as, oh, I didn't want you to actually stop. I was afraid and nervous because I really like you and I wanted you to like me. So that's why I started crying, being afraid. It wasn't because I wanted you to stop. It's because I was nervous that you wouldn't like me. So I can understand those emotions. It's not that I don't understand those emotions, but it didn't understand why she was angry that he stopped. Like, because it feels like if you're feeling that kind of thing, where you want to, the reason that you want to have sex with somebody is so that they like you, or so that it's for some other person's emotions, that's not a reason for you to have sex with that person. You're not ready yet.
Agreed.
That's what that says to me, is that she wasn't ready yet. The reasons that she was having sex with him was because of him, not because of what she wanted to do. And that's a cue for me that you're not ready yet. And that's the reason why you were crying and stuff like that. Like, that's,
well, there's a part of me that and I said this on the other podcast, there's a part of me that makes me really question, did she really like him, or did she like the idea of having a boyfriend?
Yeah, that's a good point, because again, they're both like, this is like their first relationship. But she's 19 and this is her first relationship, and he's like 26 and this is his first relationship. So even though it's their first relationship, for both of them, they're still at different points in their lives. And so they want different things, and they have different goals in sight. And I can already see that this is a thing that's going to be a problem. Because you're right. Does she really like him, or does she like the idea of having him? Of him being in her life, of having a boyfriend, especially when you consider her father's kind of controlling and really, conservative kind of person, like, and like how she was when you first see her, and she seems very like nervous and I don't want to say well, shy, yes, like tentative kind of thing. And so I think that she's using him to break out of her shell a little, but not necessarily wanting to date him legitimately, like because, oh, I really like him, you know? So, so I guess, so this is the episode where that whole, happens. Like the beginning of episode 4 is when they finally have the conversation. She goes, oh, I didn't want you to actually stop. I just was angry that, you didn't contact me. Um, and so you back? Okay.
Sorry.
I just kept talking through it. But anyway, so like, I don't know. So that's something about their relationship that I was just like, okay. It's like so many relationships, it seems to be a running thing in this story. Even though we're on episode 4, it's slight. I don't. It's not a spoiler, but you can anticipate this for the rest of the series. Each episode explains like a relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, that on the outside seems like it would be normal or seems like it's fine, but when you finally actually get to know the people in it and their motivations, it's wrong. It's for the wrong reasons, or there's something broken about their relationship that makes you uncomfortable. Like, this is not right. This is not how love is supposed to be, whether it be love, or whether it be a sexual, just on a sexual level, it still feels wrong. And I feel like that's a thing that happens for the rest of the series. But
Very good point. I hadn't thought about that aspect whenever I was watching this.
yeah.
I mainly, like, I didn't really think anything serious of anything that happened in his drama. I just kind of laughed it off because
Yeah.
the whole,
Yeah.
it's so absurd. Like, it is just an absurd drama. There's really no other way to put it.
The premise itself is absurd. I mean, this disease is so ridiculous. Like, it would never happen in real life. Like, this thing is based on a manga just because that disease is dumb. Like, you 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 can only have sex a certain amount of times, and you'll never be able to have an erection for the rest of your life. And then it by a marble coming out of your body. Like, what in the world? Are you a clam? Why are you popping out pearls? And another thing, like, I spent the whole drama going, man, you can work around that. Like, they making it like it's really tragic. No, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I can't help but sit there and think you can have a fulfilling marriage with somebody even if you can't get it up, basically. Like, we are living in the 21st century, man. We got tools, we got gadgets, we got all different that, like, if the only kind of sex you're having is penetrative, vaginal and penal sex, no. Like, no. Like, you need to explore. Think about other different ways you can have sex with your wife, and you can keep going. Like, I just, like, we can't have kids anymore. Is his sperm no longer a thing that happens? Like, I understand he can no longer ejaculate inside of a woman, but at the same time, we are now living in the 21st century where artificial insemination is a thing that happens. Like, can he do this? Is it possible? Like, I mean, there has to be options here. Like, how about instead of like going out and finding people to have sex with, you ejaculate into a tube and freeze your sperm so that you can have biological children later on in life. Like, I just these are the things that I was thinking about for this whole drama. It's like there's ways you could have done this. But anyway, I feel like we should put like some kind of warning on here. This podcast. Like, the whole drama gets an NSFW, but like we also talked a little bit
Definitely.
about rape and stuff.
I mean,
And but anyway,
should we do that in the comments below or in the editing or what?
we can put it in the comments, or I think, well, let's put in the editing too. Sorry, just a little technical stuff. Sorry, listeners. I guess back to the episode. Okay, all that happened, that conversation, which I understand, but I don't understand at the same time. Then what else happened? The stuff with uh Asami and her married boyfriend and the boyfriend's wife is pretty wow.
Oh my god, yes.
And so some of that gets started in episode 4 because his wife finds his phone like last episode, I think. And so she basically knows that he's cheating. And so she's like sleuthing, like she is legit like sleuthing. She don't need to hire a private investigator because she's doing all of it herself. She's like finding out her name, investigating her, finding out her job, going to go spy on her, like all kinds of craziness. And then they have like nice and sinister music during her scene, so you know that something's about to go down. Once she finally meets this girl face to face, you know it's gonna pop off. But I don't know. Like, I obviously am not a fan of cheating. I know it happens. That's not to say I'm not a fan of cheating in stories, because it happens, and it's interesting to see how people will write and represent a story about a cheating husband or a cheating wife in fiction. So I do find the story interesting. I just want her, but I want her, Asami, to break up with this dude. Not because of the other guy, but because of her. Because she's not happy. This isn't a situation where, with sometimes cheating stories will have the cheating husband or the cheating wife in the relationship with some other person, and they'll be like super happy or something like that. Everything's working out or something. Except for the fact that the person's still married. Like, this is clearly a situation she is not happy. She's not happy with him. She's not happy with the life that she's living. She's not happy with compromising herself to be with somebody who honestly doesn't seem to care about her at all. Like, their conversations are just so like depressing when you listen to them. Like, it's very clear that she wants to be in a legitimate relationship with him, that she wants him to break up with his wife, and he's like, I want my cake and I want, pie on the side or whatever the hell. Like, I just, I don't like this dude at all. Ugh. And then he's like, it's also one of those things where I'm just like, girl, come on, girl. You are dating a married man. You know that he's married. This is not a situation where she didn't know, or maybe she didn't know in the very beginning. But she definitely knows now, and she's still doing it. You know, come on, girl. You know he's not going to leave his wife. They never leave their wives. They never leave their wives. They don't. And so it's like you can see her struggling with wanting to be with him and knowing that he's never going to really, really be with her 100%. And it's just like, come come on, put yourself out of your own misery because this is ridiculous. And so, and I think she has an interesting trajectory as a character over the course of the series. I
I
won't
agree.
go into it too much because we're only on episode 4 here. But seeing her from the beginning, episode 1 to episode 11, I want to say, is a very interesting development. Um, and very internalized. Like I also like this story because it both she has her own story, her own issues, and her issues are completely about her and her emotions and the people that she's chosen to interact with. But she also has a bit of connection to Muchan, who he himself has his own story, like that's separate from her. Like so that you can almost have two separate stories here. A story, a drama about a woman who's dating a married man. And you can have a drama about a man who's dealing with a disease or whatever. And they're two different stories and they stand on their own. And so I'm not sitting here like saying, oh, I want you to leave him because I want you with Muchan. I don't care about whether she ends up with Muchan at this point. I want her to leave this dude because she's not happy. And it's something that the drama is supporting, is showing us that it's not about Muchan. I don't want her to leave the guy because I want her and Muchan to work out. I want her to leave the guy because it's clear that the story is saying she needs to leave this guy because she's not happy and he's using her. So I
Yeah,
like
and he's
that.
pretty toxic.
Oh, he's super toxic. Oh man, and then he pisses me off. Ugh, he pisses me off. Like he treats his wife like crap, and then like he goes out and he's sleeping with Asami, but he treats her like crap too. And then he gets like bewildered by the idea of her changing. God, like that she would possibly have somebody else besides him. And I'm like, no, dude, you're married and you're shocked that Asami might possibly start dating somebody else. Don't. Ugh, ugh. But in this,
Can we talk about
mm,
can we talk about Moonchan's fantasies? They always make me laugh
yeah, he does
really
get a
hard.
fan. Which one was it in this one?
This one in the lingerie, he gets on that pillow. I'm like, dude, what are you doing to that pillow? No, that's not what you're supposed to do with the pillow you sleep on.
He is a trip. It's just like
He's
I know
all
that I know that the desire is a strong thing, but at the same time, it's just like he will get hard and ejaculate so fast over the littlest thing. Like it'll be like just some girl walking down the street in the short skirt, and it'll like set him off. And you're like, dude, you really, really only have like 7 more tries. You're like already down to 4. It's like you want to beg him to control himself. He's like, oh man, I don't even know what to say.
maybe
Like,
that's karmic justice. So he only has a certain number
I
of balls
know,
to spend.
I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. You mean from what happened back in middle school?
Yes. She tasted it. She like put her hand in it and tasted it. If something shoots on my face in the middle of the night, and there is a dude that obviously looks like he was doing something wrong, I am not about to put my hand in it and taste it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But see, you gotta remember, she's supposed to be like a middle schooler. So Like, even though it's very obvious that they were not in middle school, but whatever. Like, so like,
Irregardless, if something warm and nasty flings on my face, if I don't know what it is,
I'm not gonna
I am not going
It's
to
true.
taste it. If I don't know where it comes from, especially a clear viscous material like that, if I don't know where it comes from, it's not going in my mouth.
Yeah, that's true. That's a little strange. But I can definitely see that as karmic justice. That's what they tried to imply in the beginning. Like, it all started, you know, what, 7 years ago in middle school or something like that. And I was like, I was waiting actually for them to connect the two. Like, that the reason that he has this rainbow ball syndrome or whatever is because of
On a chick's face.
some girl's face and then didn't tell her about it.
Did you see my post? Did you see my post that you watching it this last weekend? It's in the Cupid. It's in the Cupid no Itazura whatever you said. In on like, oh my, I
think I saw it.
Like,
I think I saw it. Yeah, I definitely saw it.
I was like, I literally was like, I can't. I literally can't. I was so stunned by that scene. At first, I was literally like, oh my god, do I need to laugh at this or not? And then I couldn't stop myself from laughing.
Oh man, yeah, no, this shit was funny. Oh man, it's just so much that was wrong about that. Like, him jacking off to some girl's back. Like, I just in a crowded room full of people. Just like, what? I know it's nighttime and all of them are asleep, but at the same time, anybody could wake up and see you jacking off to this girl. This is a stupid decision for you to make.
And he wasn't all that quiet either when he was doing it. I mean, if you're gonna be a pervert like that, I mean, I'm only saying pervert because he was doing it in a room full of people. Like,
without their consent.
That
come to the damn camp to see this dude jacking off. Like, what in the world? We didn't pay money for that.
I want a refund.
Oh god. And then the girl, and then oh god, that whole scene was just, what the hell. He has that thing though. Like, have you noticed that that's the thing that always happens with them, is that he's jacking off.
Yeah.
And then Asami walks in and he like surprise finishes.
The first ball thing came up and hit against the window right in her face.
And I was just done. That scene happened and I couldn't stop laughing.
Well, that face is our icon on Tumblr this week because it was just so priceless. Like, I just couldn't.
Oh gosh. No, yeah, this whole drama has been pretty, what the hell.
Has been pretty what?
It's been pretty, what the hell. It's like, because like some stuff is like really serious. Like all the relationship stuff is like super serious conversations about what love is, what real love is, what it means to be, you know, in a relationship. What does sex mean in that relationship? All those actual questions that this drama is posing are very real questions that I think it's handling quite well. But then it'll be other stuff that's like super absurd. Like, the general premise is absurd. This, like all of his fantasies and the shenanigans that he finds himself in, and you're just like, oh my goodness. So like, it's an interesting drama, I think. It's balancing the comedy versus the serious nature pretty well. I think it got a little weird when with the wife, but that's later on in the episodes. It's not episode 4. When the wife started really getting busy.
That's the point that I'm at in the fast forward right now.
Okay, yeah.
Seeing the wife come up in the house to the flat.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk a little bit more about episode 4 though. What else happens in here?
That's actually where I'm at. Episode 4, towards the end, the wife actually shows up at Asami's flat.
Yeah.
And
So no, but there was something before that. Oh, the other guy is like super jealous because he's clearly in love a little bit with Asami. Not necessarily in love. He just has a huge crush. It's probably
I ship them together. I already discussed this in one of the later podcasts that I actually did first before this one. So I'm sorry if I'm
oh
referring to a podcast that I did before that actually comes after this one in the list of things that I've done this week. But yeah, I actually shipped the best friend in Asami because felt like I felt like her and the best friend would have the best chemistry, even better than her and Moonchan, because
mhm.
Moonchan and her have like that, almost like that old married couple kind of feel to them.
Friendly kind of thing.
Like if they were ever to get into a relationship, they would very quickly lose
Passion
um
for the
yeah, the
passion.
passion of the relationship, and I feel like the other guy would always keep up with her.
hmm Um, yeah, I would agree. I didn't like I like this is another thing I like about J dramas is that I very rarely hate a character. So I did like the other guy too. If you haven't been watching, there's a best friend who like they've all known each other since middle school. And I don't know, it feels like he's liked her since middle school. But he like
Yeah,
never had the courage to say anything to her. Like almost very similar with Muchan, but Muchan is weird. Like I think he liked her since middle school, but he never really he never thought about the idea of being with her romantically. You know, if that makes sense. Like he liked her in the general way that he probably likes most attractive women.
mm-hmm.
But I think it was because and then I think he never but they just stayed friends kind of thing. And so he never like moved her from just, oh, this is my hot friend to this is someone that I would like to be in a relationship with. Um,
He never admitted that he jizzed on her face. Like after all of these years of friendship, he never stepped up and was like,
I know I think that was the big, I think he was afraid, but like they were talking. Well, see, this is something that happens later on that he talks about why he never told her. um about it. But it's always like this thing that's sitting between them. So it's like this I like how they do that. Every time they're in a car in the room together or a car together or just together, there's that underlying tension, at least from his side, that
mm-hmm.
he knows about how he jizzed on her face when they were in middle school, and he's not ever said anything to her about it. And it's like an awareness that you
It's
feel.
proverbial.
Yeah. And yeah, and he's like it's like an awareness that he has every time he looks at her and every time which is I think that's the story is saying that that's the reason why he does everything that she says all the time
Mm.
because he's feeling apologetic about that, which he should. Like, but you should be feeling apologetic in a way that means that you confess about it. Not that you just do everything that she says no matter what she says. Like, come on,
I agree.
man. But I guess that's his thing is that he's kind of a coward. Um, so he'd rather instead of stepping up and admitting to doing something wrong, he will spend 10 years doing whatever she says so that he doesn't have to face his own guilt. And that's basically his character. And up until he starts to change over the course of the drama, obviously. But uh, by episode 1, that's basically his character. He did something really fucked up. I mean, honestly, like all jokes aside, it was messed up. It was an accident, but it was messed up. It's
It was
like
messed up.
like it's an accident, but it started because you were jacking off to your classmate who was sleeping next to you innocently, in a room full of all your peers, which is, first of all, something that you shouldn't be doing. That's just something like fantasizing about this girl that you like at school, at home, whatever. That's fine. Jacking off next to her and she's not aware or consenting of it is no. And so that was wrong. So him getting surprised and turning around and accidentally jizzing on a different girl's face
Made it
so
worse.
just made it worse. It took something that was already wrong and made it worse. Like, it's like, so he should feel bad about it. So I think it's one of those things where you're just like, you start the story off and like, that's funny, it's funny, it's funny, whatever. But at the same time, it's just like really fucked up. And the fact that he spent like 10 years not ever saying anything about it, not and still being this girl's friend. It's not even like they parted after they graduated and never saw her again. Like, you've been her best friend. She has two friends in her life. Well, I guess three if you include her coworker, but basically she has two friends, Muchan and the other guy whose name I can't remember right now. And so I feel bad I can't remember his name. But so like the fact that you spent 10 years with this girl and you didn't never say anything about her and you're still being her friend is like fucked up. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. So yeah, I would say yes. That's definitely an interesting. It does lend an interesting layer to their relationship though, because they're not just best friends who confide in each other everything. It's best friends who confide in each other everything, except that he never tells her. Like they both have that secret that they never tell each other. Like he never tells her about the whole incident in middle school, and she never tells him that the man that she's seeing is a married man and that she's not happy in her relationship. She always puts on this face like she's a worldly woman who's, like she has that vibe with him where she tries to be the sexy, sophisticated woman who knows about the world and could teach him everything or something like that. And she has that guise, but in real, and you know, deep down inside, she's insecure about the relationship that she's in, and she's unhappy.
It kind of feels like to me that she is, because he's a virgin, it's almost like she is put on this act so that she can seem wiser and more mature than.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, so I guess what else happens? Yeah, and then I guess the story ends with
The wife.
oh yeah, the wife. Oh, the Muchan and the coworker chick, the little 19-year-old, are together. They worked out all their stuff, so they're dating now technically. And Asami gets back home and finds her boyfriend's wife in her house, or well, her boyfriend's wife follows her home. And then she comes in the door, and for some reason, I guess because she's living in Japan, she decides not to lock the door behind her. Like, I don't know. I just felt my whole body cringe when she didn't lock that door. I grew like, no, I grew up in Baltimore, like the middle of Baltimore on North Avenue. No, you do not like leave your door open and unlocked when you come in the house. What the hell? But she decided to do this because I just felt so uncomfortable. And then she, we see the consequences of that. Your boyfriend's wife will come inside after you, and looked like a serial killer.
She didn't even knock. She just like busted up in there like she owned the place.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Looking like, and then she's got that sinister kind of face that look like she'd cut you.
She do look like she was gonna stop me.
Right? It's like, I'm not even mad at this chick because honestly, she's cheating with the woman's husband. Like, I personally, am a believer of going after the man who's cheating, not necessarily the women he's cheating with, or the people he's cheating with. It's not always the woman. So, like, I'm more of a proponent of that idea, but at the same time, I can't be mad at a woman for being angry at another woman for deliberately being with a married man. Like, this isn't a situation where the girl didn't know. This is a situation where the girl completely knew, didn't care. And so I feel like that lends a slightly different dynamic to a situation for a wife than if you find out your husband's cheating or he has a whole other family that he's married to in another state or something like that. And they don't know either. But yeah, so this episode ends with that clusterfuck about to happen in episode 5, which I guess you talked about already.
Mm-hmm. Yes, admin Y and admin me admin.
Admin Y and admin I. What? I got you.
Admin M, which is me, and admin Y actually test for 5 and 6, and that posting is coming up later on our Tumblr, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. But that's all I have to say for this one, though.
And end of this episode, they also remind us that he only has 4 balls left because the doc calls him about his cortisone levels, telling him he needs to have sex soon. And I don't understand why this doctor is speeding up his.
Okay. She's a little creepy. Okay, she's a lot of creepy.
Agreed.
Even before the whole sexual assault in the lab thing, that just made me so incredibly uncomfortable. She's really creepy. Like, I mean, she looks at him almost like he's an experiment, which she is essentially. She's doing research with him. But then it's weird because then she'll have like legitimate girl to girl kind of conversations with Asami, where she's helping her deal with her emotions. And so I always get this like weird, feeling because someday, like when I see her and him, like she's kind of creepy with the taking down the clock and her little drawers full of, experiments and stuff, and like
she doesn't have any medical
him.
on her wall.
Yeah, well,
she is a quack. She is very a quack.
And I think the fact that this premise is so absurd, and the fact that she's like the foremost, doctor, quote unquote, doctor in the field or in the study of this absurd ass disease, like it's not helping things. It's like that's what her, like that's what she's famous for. She's famous for knowing a lot about this one disease, which apparently only happens like every now and then. So like, and she never explains what she says she's seen it only ever one other time personally, and I mean it's a bit of a spoiler, but I don't ever remember her actually talking about who that other person was, or anything like that. So like she's the leading expert in this disease, in the rainbow ball disease or whatever, but you literally have only ever seen it one other time. It's questionable, right?
It makes no sense to me.
questionable. Anyway, yeah. So agreed. Agreed. She's creepy.
Any final thoughts?
For this episode, no. I think I basically talked about everything I think I would want to talk about. So,
I agree. I basically did everything that I was gonna say about it.
okay. All right, we'll go ahead and end this podcast. It was a good one. So that's the end of the podcast for Cupid no Itazura, episode 4, with
Mm-hmm.
admin R and admin M.
Alrighty.
Bye bye.
We will talk to you in a bit then. Bye.